Wow. Thank you so much for being here, everyone. This is amazing. This is the most people we've had in this room, which is incredible. I think that speaks to the sacredness of the springs. Thank you for being here. We have an amazing group of speakers tonight. I am so excited to see this. So thank you to everyone who has come here to speak tonight. Thank you so much to Lu Merritt, who organized this whole thing. And the Rights of Water. Thank you for that. There is a table for the Rights of Water in the back. I encourage you all to visit that table before you leave here tonight. There's also some donation kiosks sprinkled around. Anything you can donate would be helpful to us. We have an amazing videographer filming here tonight, and everybody has been volunteering their time for this, so we just really appreciate everyone. Thank you so much. Without further ado, we'll get started with Lu. We're going to hit the lights.
Thanks, Haley. Bear with me. Turn on. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay. Welcome. Thank you for coming. This program would not happen but for the generosity of the people at the Florida Springs Institute, because we're doing this with no budget. So if you enjoy tonight's program, if you like the kinds of things the Springs Institute is doing, there are 2 plexiglass donation boxes, one back there, one out here, and I think there's a donation jar on the back table. So please be generous. The other people who are here tonight that I want to mention are people working on the Florida Right to Clean Water proposed state constitutional amendment. If you heard about the amendment that was happening a couple of years ago, it's been revised. The effort is moving again. If you signed a petition 2 years ago, you need to sign a new petition. And Carl and David are here, and they have petitions on that back table, and they can also tell you how to donate to that effort. Because it's becoming, and this is my own opinion, I'm not representing FSI, it's becoming very clear that the state of Florida is not going to lift a finger to save our springs. So we have to find new ways to do that, and this petition is one of those new ways. So please give them whatever support you can, and please sign the petition. And thanks to Jim DeRocher, I don't see if he's back there, maybe he is, for our lovely flute music tonight. And thanks to Michael, who is recording our event for us. Thank you, Michael. So what are a bunch of artists, writers, and creative people doing here at FSI? A lot of you may not know, but when FSI was getting its start many moons ago, it was incubated for its first 3 years by an artists organization in Gainesville. So some of us were involved with that, some of us knew about that. So FSI was actually born out of an arts organization. So the tie is deep, it's long-standing, and it's strong. And I just wanted to make sure people knew about that. I want to start this evening by saying just a couple words about the zeitgeist, which is the spirit of the times, which is not good. And I want to, this is not going to be a gloom and doom presentation, but I want to read something that one of my Tibetan Buddhist teachers wrote because I think it's important. He was talking about living through a dark age, and he said, "It's called the Dark Age because the more uplifting and meritorious qualities of the human world are diminishing, whereas the gross and neurotic aspects of the human qualities are more present and becoming more apparent. One could say that it's like clear water that diminishes or dries up, allowing you to see the mud and clay appearing. This kind of situation has to do with the quality of the human mind. The link between the human mind and the environment is a really important one, and that's what we're going to deal with tonight. And what I'm hoping is that we can do some uplifting and a little bit of relief from what's going on and inspiration for further creative work. Where is my slide thing? Here we go. And I'm going to talk a little bit about why I was inspired to do this. In Xanadu did Kubla Khan a stately pleasure-dome decree, where Alph, the sacred river, ran, through caverns measureless to man, down to a sunless sea. This is the beginning of a poem by Samuel Taylor Coleridge called Kubla Khan that was written in 1797, and it may well have been inspired by William Bartram's travels that were written in 1791. Over 200 years later, I heard echoes of this idea of a sacred river at Rum Island Spring. I was coming out of the spring. There was a woman standing on the bank, and she was looking at the water. And I just said in passing, "It's beautiful, isn't it?" And she said, "It's sacred." So there's this realization from a lot of us that what we're dealing with here are sacred places and sacred springs. Even now, we recognize them that way. Next slide. Another inspiration is this quote by Gus Speth, who was a co-founder of the Natural Resources Defense Council and has taught at Yale University's environmental program. And when I read this, I was like, this is it. He said, "I used to think the top environmental problems were biodiversity loss, ecosystem collapse, and climate change. I thought that with 30 years of good science, we could address those problems, but I was wrong. The top environmental problems are selfishness, greed, and apathy. And to deal with those, we need a spiritual and cultural transformation. And we scientists and lawyers don't know how to do that." Now, I want to make something perfectly clear. The science that's done here at FSI and at our universities is the bedrock on which we all stand as we work to save our springs. But it's not enough. We need culture change. When Cynthia Barnett, who's here tonight, yay, there you are. You're right in front of the light. When she wrote her book, Blue Revolution, she talked about a water ethic for Florida, for the world, actually. And what she was talking about is culture change, which is what we need to do. And from a writer up in Georgia, Janice Ray, I've learned that stories are the foundation of our culture. The stories we tell each other, the stories we tell to our families, the stories we tell to our neighbors. So this whole program is an appeal to see if we can learn to tell different stories from a spiritual basis that will change minds and hearts and eventually change our culture. And this gentleman is telling us, you need to step outside of your culture to see the shackles it has placed on your thinking. And I think there's a lot of wisdom in that. So we have people here tonight who have visited springs and waters that are considered sacred in other cultures. And so I'm hoping that our perspectives might shift. We're going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to ask you first, if you haven't already, please silence your cell phones. Please hold your applause for the speakers until the very end of the program, because as we finish speaking, we're going to leave our last slide up. Jim's going to play a little flute interlude, and what I'm asking you to do is just sit with what you've heard, see what ideas it may bring up, see what emotions it may bring up, see how you feel about what has been talked about. Let's see. There's a lot of different reasons places can be called sacred. By the use that they're put to, a place like Notre Dame Cathedral is a sacred place. Other places, I think, can be considered sacred because they have their own energy, their own power. The other thing is that sometimes when people go to places, they have unusual or what we call paranormal experiences. These experiences are very interesting to me and have been for years because you can't prove them. and you can't disprove them. So you may hear about some of those tonight, and please keep an open mind and just realize that the importance of those things is in the meaning that they carry for the person who experiences them. One of my spiritual teachers has suggested that to inspire real environmental change, we must evoke new emotions in people. So that's part of what we're trying to do.